Hey everybody, Gary Fong, and it's been really surprising on this CIA document thing because all of a sudden I'm seeing a lot of comments, and apparently I heard that we are on something called Shift Talk, some type of TikTok where it talks about time shifts and energy, and this has become a very focused topic. And what I think I've been reading in the comments are people saying that they want to shift reality or have out-of-body experiences and go into other time dimensions and things like that. The thing is that you're doing it all the time. This will just teach you how to be able to observe it. You just have to understand what's happening with energy and wavelengths. So from what I heard, the CIA took down this document. Now, just a little bit about my genesis into this entire path was this came across my desk, and a friend of mine just sent it to me and said, have a look at it. And I read it, and I was like going, wow, this thing absolutely explains the process of Hemi Sinking. And Hemi Sinking allowing you to have a flat consciousness so that you can actually become at one with a universal awareness that doesn't happen when you're a three-dimensional being inside a trapped energetic mass, very, very heavy trapped energetic mass. One place, one time, one dimension, that's all we see through our five senses. But once we get into the ability to then join the continuum of time-space, the infinite energy of time-space, where actually time-space doesn't actually exist, which we'll talk about in paragraph 18 or section 18 of this document, you'll then see how you've been missing this all the time. It's kind of cool. So I'm sorry that these come out in different parts. What wound up happening is that I put out part 4, and then it got taken down. It literally disappeared. So didn't want that to happen again. I went through and listened to whatever I said in part 4, and couldn't really tell, but I took some things out that might have been there. So part 4 is still up. Now, the thing is that my strategy on this is I'm just going to explain what is on this document. So there's nothing fantastical or, fanatical that comes out of this document, because this document has been declassified by the CIA, approved for release in 2003, sat in obscurity for pretty much forever, and then it just kind of came to the forefront again. Now everyone wants to look at it, and so now the CIA is pulling it down off the internet, which is very interesting. So let's talk about time-space dimension, because that's really interesting. So earlier I talked about Hemi Sinking, and Hemi Sinking means that your left hemisphere is completely bombarded with information, right? Advertising, Instagram, weight loss programs, and all of these things it does, thousands and thousands of messages that are coming in, vying for your whole brain attention, goes into the left hemisphere, which is there to literally economize the flux of information that's coming in. So it comes in and says, okay, that person has a MAGA hat and therefore probably doesn't want to wear a mask, or whatever you put into categories. Like you'll say, that person's a Mormon, so probably goes around knocking on doors. Whatever it is, you say this equals that. And that's the left brain. That's the analytical side of the brain, the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is the complete void, the creative one that is more in tune with the way the universe actually rumbles, because the right hemisphere is not the data processing center. What goes to the right hemisphere then becomes infinite creativity and awareness. What it doesn't explain in this document is the role of the pineal gland. And I don't really want to go too far into that. There's tons of information on the pineal gland out there. Again, because I want to stay within this realm of this document, the four corners of this document, and tell you what it says, so that I don't kind of go off and then I can say Facebook or YouTube. All I was doing is reading off this document. So I will bring up that it doesn't talk about the pineal gland. The pineal gland is in between the left and the right hemispheres, and it has photoreceptors. Those photoreceptors allow it to downstream and intercept signals that come in from universal light energy, because it doesn't really make sense why this little thing in between two hemispheres has photoreceptors. Well, it actually has been known for many different cultures. It's called the third eye. It's the pineal gland is where this all happens, and this is what we access when we do our meditation to sync, to Hemi Sync. So what happens up in parts 1 through 4 of this document, I have taught you that the left hemisphere is very busy trying to make calculations, and this equals that, cause equals effect, and then it makes discerning things, and then it presents what's notable to the right hemisphere for whole brain processing, okay? And then again, ignoring the pineal gland. What I'm saying is that in Hemi Sinking, which means that not only are the wavelengths the same frequency, but the amplitudes match. And that's really important, because if the amplitudes don't match, then you get a cancellation effect. Just like noise reduction headphones. I don't know if you know how those work, but like the Bose noise reduction headphones, it hears an airplane cabin sound. It goes shh. And then it says the wavelengths look like this, and then it has a little speaker that sends out a counter wave that goes underneath and flattens those curves, which is interesting. Well, that's the same thing that happens with Hemi Sinking, is that not only are you not canceling your brainwaves, because that's basically what happens when you have conflict, when you're upset and everything like that, you wind up, like they say, banging your head against a wall. Under Hemi Sinking, both your left and right go into synchronization, and that becomes like the laser. Extremely focused. I don't know if it's this document or some other document, but it says that a person in Hemi Sync has 80,000 times the mental processing horsepower. They come through a process called downloading. So when you are in Hemi Sync and you are meditation, and downloading is something that even the universe cues you up. If you look at a clock and it says 11:11 or 1:11, that literally looks like raindrops, doesn't it? And that's the significance of downloading. So when you see that, it's a memory that you are able to download the Akashic records or download anything that has happened in the universe that literally was a cause and effect. Again, and I'm going to talk about time, space, dimension, and how man invents time. So anyway, when you're what this thing said, that 80,000 times mental processing horsepower. I mean, I guess I can believe it, because the stuff that I wake up with after downloading during meditation, the amount of information I have, the amount of visions that I have are quite remarkable. I've been doing it all my life. For example, one of the first ones that I remember was when I thought I was having a dream, but it was in the middle of the day, and it was an extremely vivid daydream. And I thought, my God, I am literally standing here. I was in a laundromat, of all things. And so I thought, I'm touching the counters, and, they say pinch yourself during a dream to see. But, of course, if you pinch yourself during a dream, you're going to think you feel a pinch, because the dream is just you creating a narrative for how things are starting to flash in your mind. So, but for me, what I did, this is really interesting. I looked at the cork board. You know how like laundromats have a cork board, and they'll put up these one ads. So it'll be like real estate agent and babysitter wanted. And this was the one that I really saw. And so there's a Ford F-150 pickup for sale. But in the corner, there was this yellow flyer, and it said babysitter wanted, and then it had those tear-off tabs on the bottom with a phone number. And I remember looking at it and going, okay, well, there's the babysitter thing one, there's a Ford F-150, there's a Remax, there's a blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm going to walk out onto the sidewalk and just, look around, and then I'm going to go back in and look at that cork board and see if it's what I remembered, and it was exactly like I remembered. And I was touching things and going, this is really the most vivid dream. I'm really good at dreaming. I didn't know there was such a thing as out-of-body experiences, and I didn't know that there was such a thing as conceptual holographic time travel. So, for example, right now I'm talking, and I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia, and when I say something, there's a rippling, flash of waves, and we know that from my hologram thing. So as you know that when you throw a pebble out into a pond, the ripples come at you and they go away from you. The ones that are coming at you are shaped like a hug going outwards, and the ones that are coming from behind are shaped like that, right? They arc so that the crest is coming at you. but the curve is kind of backwards. So you know when things are coming from the past when you can sense that the ripples are curved outward. And you know that it's coming from the future when the curves are going in that direction. So that right there, if you understand that there's vibrational energy in an event that goes out and is observable against the void of the universe, then you understand that, yes, you can see the past and you can see the future and you can see other places, because everything that happens anywhere is a vibratory event. It is a disturbance in the continuum of the natural way of the Earth. And so we also know that the further apart the crests are, the further away that thing happened, right? Because if it dropped right next to you, then you get all these little ripples, and then they kind of space out. And in a pond, when you have ripples, they eventually die out. Okay, they just don't go on forever. Now, that's different than the universe. In the universe, things never die because the universe has no friction and no resistance. We go to 18, time, space, dimension. I'll read you some things on here, because then it'll all completely make sense. It says, physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force in motion. In other words, it is a measurement of change. So let's talk about change. If I'm on an electric motorcycle and I'm just 60 miles an hour down the freeway, and you're on one, and let's just say I can't see the background, then I think that the two of us are standing still. And that's happening to you right now. You're going something like 800 miles an hour in orbit, but you think you're standing still because my furniture sure isn't moving. You're not moving relative to me. So time, motion, space can only be clocked against something that is still. I hope that makes sense. So if something's still, then you can clock it against the still thing, right? Went by me at 60 miles an hour. Well, if I'm going at 30 and went by me at 60, then it went by at 90. But we measure things against what are still. The universe is incredibly still because it has no borders. It has no right, left, front, or back. It's infinite. Not only is it infinite, but it doesn't vibrate disturbances. So let's talk about the infinite part. If it's infinite, that means it has no right and no left, right? So how can it move if there's no beginning and no end? In other words, the universe is just this flat thing that does not move. When we do an event, when I drop this thing, that's an event that creates a disturbance which creates ripples in the universe that we can observe. We, as observant beings, and that doesn't mean that we're alive with, carnal bodies with eyes and ears and nose and tongue to taste and fingers to touch. Those five senses only exist to protect our physical body from harm. The other awareness that you get comes in through the pineal gland. So when we observe things as observant beings, we do not put labels on them, we do not judge, we don't categorize, we just observe that they're happening. And this is really a freeing thing, because that energy is called unconditional love. Some philosophers say that, the universe is famously impartial. And it sounds like it's cruel to be impartial. That's not what that means. The universe is famously impartial to anyone's desires. So it's like, for me, I thought it was amusing when everyone was putting up vision boards, right? And they would put like a picture of a Ferrari or, an expensive purse or six-pack abs or whatever. And, that was a thing under The Secret, that book about manifesting, the things that you want. Vibrate out to the universe that you want this, and the universe will bring the Ferrari to you. Okay, it's not exactly how vibrational energy works. Vibrational energy works like this. If you're really concerned about not getting married by the age of 30, on your mind, all you're thinking about is the phrase, not getting married by the age of 30. And you repeat that. It's a PowerPoint show. You keep clicking that over and over and, oh, my friends are all getting married. Oh, they're all having babies. And here I am. I'm just going to be the cat lady. Oh, oh, cat lady, I need to put a cat lady slide on there. And people do this. So they just keep repeating this thing. And it becomes their awareness. And then lo and behold, what you, they say manifest, what you vibrationally are has porous walls, and it seeps out into the reality of this time-space dimension and causes all of those things that vibrate in sync with you thinking, I'm never going to get married at 30. The universe is set to prove that to you because you are now bringing in all the vibrational energy of all those things that are exactly as you fear. So when you fear them, like, oh my God, I'm going to be 30 and single, then it's like, oh, there's a sign that, oh my God, I am going to be 30 and single. Oh, there's a sign, I'm going to be 30 and single. Oh, I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm getting kind of flabby. I'm going to be 30 and single. So all these things now become part of your awareness universe, and that is the part that's exciting when we talk about time-space dimension, because we were not always carnal bodies. I'm 60 years old. 60 years ago, I was a light being. And a light being does not have an awareness that extinguishes at any moment. It doesn't extinguish when you die. It doesn't extinguish 40,000 years after you die, because awareness is really this massively omniscient, beautiful place where we have godlike qualities. You see, the universe is still. It literally has no vibrational energy. And in that no vibrational energy is the massive vibrational energy of what they call the unity. All planets and stars are intensely connected, but in the moment. See, people say, oh, well, the gravity goes at about the speed of light, 186,000 meters per second, and therefore, you know, by the time we see something that was 14,000 light years away, blah, blah, blah. So they think that nothing goes faster than the speed of light because Einstein said so. E equals mc squared. He said that the faster you get closer to what they call the constant, 186,000 meters per second, the more that your mass will increase. They found that in, like, as you approach the speed of light, they found that your length in the direction went shorter. So then they went, well, if you went to the speed of light, then you would be infinitely thin and more weight than the universe. That happens in an observable system where you can clock things under relativistic rules. I can clock things under Newtonian mechanics, and they would completely not exist under the lens of observing through relativity. And so in a continuum where there are multiple dimensions, and it's just energy, it's just electricity, multiple parallel universes. When you have that, then they've done these accelerated particle things where they smash atoms together, and then they have literally found, you can Google this, that particles, they're gluons or something like that, vanish from the closed system. And they say it went into the fifth dimension. Now I have to say, guys, that's not a closed system. The closed system is the one that you can't observe. Those particles went bam, and they went into that thing, but you don't have eyes that can see infrared. You don't have eyes that can see ultraviolet. You don't have ears that can hear over 20,000 hertz or below 20 hertz. So to say that it's now not there is completely silly. I read Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time, massively decorated and theoretical physicist, which in itself are kind of two separately different things, because a physicist is one who measures, observes, and then can create lab experience then to prove the hypothesis. That's called the scientific method. But a theoretical physicist is one who imagines how things might be, and then starts to find, proof. The problem that they have in finding proof in a dimension where we can actually observe cause and effect gets lost when you get into analytical physics. And so one thing that they all got wrong was that this concept that the unifying force that holds everything together, because they've been trying to find it. They're saying subatomic particles, they spin around in orbit just like a planet spins around the sun, or the stars all spin around the Milky Way galaxy. But they want to find the one unifying force that holds everything together. And it's so simple when you think about it. Look, if there was not an instantaneous unifying force at all times, then the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, would spin completely out of control. What I'm saying is I am as connected to the farthest part of the Milky Way galaxy as you are, and you are connected to me, and I'm connected to the blade of grass that's under my pinky toe or whatever. Everything is interconnected, but not at relativistic distance. It's all in the here and now. And it's what they call in this time-space dimension the absolute. So he says, let me see what he says. He says, conscious force, the fundamental primal power of existence without form, and I'm talking about light bodies, right? Awareness energy, which you will return when you're no longer stuck in this, 100 whatever pound frame that you're in. But it says that energy, which is not confined, is force without limit, without dimension, without limits form. Infinity cannot move because there's nothing beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. So what it talks about is that anything that happens is an event. An event is a disturbance, and this really cool universe that was just flatlining is now aware of it. So what happens is two things. When you go into Hemi Sink and you're able to really take those amplitudes and go lower and longer and flatter. The flatter that you can go, and this is why they said in it, which I thought was delightful, that a person who has practiced Zen meditation for 20 years or more can easily achieve Hemi Sinking. I've been practicing Zen meditation since I was 12, so I know, like, something was happening. The thing is, a society told me that, no, you are not going to other places. You're not having out-of-body experiences. You are not able to, predict the future. And so basically what it says is that energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest and therefore cannot generate holograms as long as it remains utterly inactive. So the universe cannot create events. Now, there are people who know about, light body consciousness and they're called light bodies, okay? It's just what we are when we're not. We're just electricity. So when we're not inside a physical body, you think this all just goes away, and we're under 6 feet of ground and just going, God, this sucks being down here in this grave. That's not how it works. You are an energetic being that has the omniscient, godlike ability to observe. Now, the one thing that we are not able to do as light bodies, we can observe everything. We don't get stuck with emphysema or fingernails that are too long or having to take a crap or have a period or need coffee to wake up or need alcohol to calm your nerves. And there's none of that when you're free from as a body. You can just think Seattle, boom, you're in Seattle. You can think Washington, D.C., you can be in Washington, D.C. The interesting thing is, if it's so cool to be a light body, then why the hell would you want to be confined in this sack of putrefying, easily decaying flesh when you could instantly shift your awareness and go here to there, to the future, back, thousands of miles away in an instant. And the reason that is because as a light body, you cannot make things happen. A ghost cannot pick up a bottle. A ghost cannot, flip through the pages of a book or slam it or kill another person. There's all of these things. When you are in this carnal body, you have the ability to make events ripple into the universe so that you can see what happens. Now, that's a cool thing. Unfortunately, when we are here as people, we learn how to make things happen, but we forget that part, that we can actually observe everything and our actions within it. And that's the part that is so exciting about the fact that the CIA knows this and wants to create a counterforce to stop psychics like some of you out there from being able to see remote viewing and things like that. So I want to talk about what happens in a thing called clicking out. And this is called the absolute in infinity. And this is really important because this will teach you how to get to that state where you can become at one with the universe.